Hello, Thomas. Welcome to Foreign Friday. You got a new haircut, man. Looking good.
Yeah. Got to keep my coif.
Your coif. You got to get that fresh style for sure. So, and we're both dressed in black today. I don't know. Is it a funeral for us in our picks, or what is it?
No, actually, I'm in blue.
Oh, that's blue. Just looks black on
one of my many Keeneland shirts.
For sure. Well, we'll be down in Keeneland maybe a little later on in the year for some Breeders' Cup races and maybe some of the horses that we're going to talk about today. You think any of them might show up in Kentucky come November?
I wouldn't be surprised, especially the Godolphin horses.
The ones running at
Creative Force would not be a huge surprise to see in there. I would, and then looking at the races that are in at Belmont, Agatha, which is running in the Invitational for the fillies, she's going to be stabled at Saratoga this summer, and Joseph O'Brien is going to have a string of 6. He's bringing over primarily because his owner's over in this side of the world. But also, he's got some good. He's going to bring a couple more experienced horses and then a few 2-year-olds. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
And this is the first time he's done that, so it'll be interesting to see what his impact is.
Yeah, it should be a good time. We're going to cover 3 races at Newmarket today, which is in England, and then a couple of races here in the United States at Belmont Park because they have a strong international influence, the Belmont Oaks and the Belmont Derby. So let's get cracking with Newmarket. But before we get started with Newmarket, Thomas, how would you describe the track shape?
Yeah, unique. It's this was started in 1666 by King Charles I. So. And about 25 years later, they passed a law saying that this will always remain a racetrack and or a racing area of the world. And it's the best way to describe it to me is a dog leg right. I mean, and except for the straightaway, and it is definitely an undulating course. So
it's a pretty wild looking course, I would say the least.
Yeah. And you finish going uphill. So it's definitely a test. And today in my observations of the races, most of the winners were coming from the middle.
Most from the middle. All right. Well, before we get cracking on the races, the first race we're going to cover is what would be the third race, or race 350, which is going to start at approximately 9:40 a.m. Eastern, which is kind of interesting to me. We have 9:40 over here.
No, it's the fourth race.
You're right. I'm sorry, I got
3:15.
The 3:15. So the 10:15 a.m. on
that'll be the fourth race.
So this is 2-year-old races.
Fourth or fifth, yeah.
Yeah, it's the fourth race. I just had the wrong one opened up on my screen here, where I'm trying to keep up with the data on one. That was
just what I wasn't going crazy.
Well, you don't have to go. You don't need to go where you already are, Thomas. Right?
Yeah, right. It's a short trip.
So this one's going to start at 10:15 a.m. Eastern. It is a 7-furlong affair, and if we go back to the Newmarket track, that's going to start right about in here. It looks like right about here, 7 furlongs, and then they're going to just run. Is there going to be like undulations and then downhill, then uphill, right? So it can and then
there's there's some nice undulations. The 5 furlong starts on a bit of a rise, and then it drops off, and then it's a uphill to the finish. So the 7 furlong has a little extra undulation to make those, especially these 2-year-olds, work.
So of the three races we're covering at Newmarket. This is the easy one because there's only 5 horses. The other 2 are pretty packed. Just kind of setting up the pace to me here, Tom. It looks like you have 1 closer, 3 that want to be in the middle, and 1 that's likely to jump to the lead. Oh, there's looks like wait? There's a lot more horses than that. Did I do the right track here? Right race? I hope I did. Anyway, if not, I'm going to leave it up to you.
It should be the 315.
315. Yeah, that's what I have here. 315.
No, you got
I'm all
you got
messed up.
350.
Yes, I have them out of order. Okay, thank God. It's going to say, oh my God, here we go. There are only 5 horses. Man alive. I thought for a moment I had lost my mind too, Thomas. Again, short trip. All right, there are only 5 horses.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Again, with 5 horses, I think 1's going to get to the lead, 1's going to trail, and 3 will be in the middle. Do you see it differently?
No, I really don't. And but it is an interesting race in terms of this is a Group 2 race, and frankly, we've seen a few 7. I saw one today, a 7 furlong 2-year-old race, and it was won rather impressively and this was a maiden, John Gosden horse, and it looked very good. What they're going to do with it next, probably a novice race, but it was an excellent. And what that told me was that it probably could have competed with some of these. So to give you some idea. So I started with number 5, Victory Dance, with draw 4 as my top choice. Won at Newmarket by a head, and it was a huge favorite. Interesting with this one is that it ran well at 7 furlongs, no question. But this is a horse that's bred to go up to 1.5 miles. So if it stays decent, you could see it next year in some big races, and would not be a huge surprise to see it because in the Breeders' Cup juvenile race at all. It would not surprise me. Number 4, Lion of War is my next choice. Has draw 1. It won its first 2 starts. They were both at 7 furlongs. Interestingly enough, it ran on the all-weather for one of them, and that won that by 10 lengths. He went wire to wire in that race, and then he came back in the Leicester race, and he sat mid-pack and blew by him for a 2 1/4 length win. So a little versatility with a 2-year-old, which is kind of surprising. He's bred to go longer. But this may be his wheelhouse. Maybe 1 mile is where he is going to peak. So the 7 is certainly up as right there. I think this is going to be the run. It's going to be run the front, which is the number 1, a dark 30, as draw 3. Won its Newbury maiden, going by a nose, going wire to wire, and it just held on literally. And the next start, they tried it in a listed race at Royal Ascot. It raced towards the front and then sort of backed up. It was one of those deals where it looked like it just didn't handle the track that day. But it'll be interesting coming to Newmarket what it'll do. Now the jockey is going to ride that has been riding this horse. The 2 starts is switched to riding the 3 horse. And but they're not downgrading at all on the jockey change. Christian Soumillon is going to be riding the top French jockey, so that you don't lose much with that. And that may give it, you never know if he can hold them together. It could be a very interesting race. And it's 5 horses, but they're really all pretty much in the same level at this point in their careers.
And I think most of them are going to be not. I think when they break, there probably won't be a big difference between the first 4 horses. For me, I'm going to start with Isaac Shelby as I came out, won its debut, ran it with ease by 3.5 lengths. That was at 6.5 furlong, cutting back a little bit there. But this horse led, set the pace, wasn't really ever challenged. I actually think this is going to be the pace setter in here, Isaac Shelby. The 5 horse Victory Dance is going to be the heavy favorite, looks like to me. So I put it 3rd, even though it won its debut by a head. That was 7 furlongs there. And then, but instead of that, I put that one 3rd because I'm going to try to beat the short price with number 4, Lion of War, your other horse. That one came out and won its last race by 10 lengths. I know it was on an all-weather track, but a 10-length win is a 10-length win, no matter what surface they're running on. But did run its debut at 7 furlongs on a firm turf course. So he's clearly going to like the footing, which is listed as good to firm, if I remember correctly. I don't know if there's any rain in the forecast, Tom. Perhaps you can put on your meteorologist hat and let us know.
It's going to be warm as it was. It's been the last 2 days of racing there. It's been warm, and it is definitely, I would go more on the firm side, frankly, because the times have been extremely fast. They went in 5 furlongs, they went 57.
That's quick.
That's lightning.
And were the horses more on the front, or did they come off the pace? What were your observations there?
Coming off the pace was the primary, but it was not a dead closers. There was more mid-pack.
So like more like stalkers.
Yes.
All right. So race number 6.
Right behind the pace seemed to be the consistency there.
Okay. So right off the tactical speed, so to speak. Race 6 is 7 furlongs again on this awkward-looking track. And if we go back to 7 furlongs, you'll see. Let me pull this out of the way because it's in the way. 7 furlongs, they're going to start right about here, and then they're going to do the undulations. They're going to go down a hill. They're going to go up a hill, and then they're going to stop at the stop sign there that's circular. And, of course, as we mentioned before, Thomas, you're going to be looking right now for horses that are probably going to be with tactical speed. It's a much larger field than the other one. And this race number 5 is race number 5. I hope I got it right. It's going to start at 10:50 a.m. Eastern. So it leads you right into some of the races at Belmont Park. And there's just like 22 stakes races on Saturday here in the States. So there's plenty of big races here, plenty of big races overseas. Of course, plenty of big races at Newmarket and elsewhere. So let's talk about the Bunbury Cup, Thomas. I look at this one, and I see a kind of interesting pace set up here, Tom. I see there's 20 horses in this field. I see 19 of them that want to be, maybe some of them want to pressure, but they don't really want to be on the lead. Some want to pressure or close, and the rest want to close. So I think you're going to get maybe one horse that breaks free from the rest, maybe tries to steal this race on the front, and a whole bunch that are going to chase.
I saw it more as a couple are going to be battling for the lead, and the balance of them are going to be in mid-pack with a couple trailers who won't have a chance.
Mm-hmm. The no chance
20 horse field. 20 horse field is a 20 horse field, and this is the maximum they can run at this track. So yes, that'll give you some idea of their form of a quarter horse race going up and down
for 7 furlongs. So when we went through this, you mentioned there's 20 horses. You know, you and I both talk about how we write horses off to the side and then we go back and narrow it down. How many did you have off to the side? I had 12.
I got 8.
8. Well, so I'm a little bit more liberal than you are in that respect, I guess. All right, fire away.
Well, again, you could throw a few more in there, but you gotta put it at some point and say, okay, this doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But what I started with was the only one of the 3-year-old in the race, which was number 17, Sambura, who has draw 7. It's got 4 starts and 3 wins. Last out, it faced Noble Truth at Royal Ascot in a Group 3, ran an okay 6th. But it was a bit over its head, I think, and dropping back to here, I think, is a little better spot because its 3 wins have been in the maiden, a novice, and a handicap at the Class 3 level. So going in distance suits this horse very well, and of course, being a 3-year-old at this time of year, he gets a weight allowance.
Mm-hmm.
I took number 11, the Attorney, with draw 2 is my next choice. Has 15 starts, 3 wins, 4 seconds. 4 seconds and 3/3. It was placed second on the all-weather at Newcastle last out by a length, and then another second at Goodwood on the turf. So I don't think the surface matters. I think it just wants a good run. This is definitely a mid-pack type of horse. And and when it moves up front, it'll move. It's faced some of these horses before and has had some luck against them. I think it's got a good chance of stepping forward, but I also really like it for the money. And my final choice, I should point out, on a good to firm going with this horse, he's got 4 starts. He has a win, 2 seconds, and 1/3. So obviously likes that good to firm going. Number 3, Jumpy, is my withdraw 5 is my final choice. 13 starts, has 4 wins and 5/3. At Royal Ascot last out, it ran a good third, and it was a really nice third. 6 furlongs, looked good. He had some problems at the start, but this is normal for this horse. In the last 3 starts, it has done something stupid at the beginning, either dwelt or just not got out of the gate cleanly, which is why I'm thinking this probably belonged at third again. I think it's just not going to have it. If it gets a clean break, yeah. But I'm hoping that he'll be back again, because otherwise, if he got out, I think he could win this race. But since he hasn't done it in a while, I have to put him for third.
Well, I hope you're wrong, that he doesn't do anything stupid and he does get a clean break, Thomas, because I did put him first, because I look back at his previous second starts off a layoff, and some of them have been pretty good. One of them, he actually got a good jump, and it was at Newmarket, and you know what he did? He won. So hopefully he can repeat that performance. Next up for me is number 10, Montecib. I hope I pronounced that correctly. I probably screwed it way up. But this is another horse that runs pretty well on a firm, as you mentioned, surface. He's run 4 times, won 3 of those as well. 3 of the races were at the distance. 2 of them were winners. Last time out is a race that the only one he did not win was that particular race there. And it looks like he got off to a little bit of a slower start than usual in that race. So if he gets off to a little better start here, no question he can handle the distance. The only question maybe he prefers a softer surface, but does have a win at 7 furlongs on a good surface as well. I like your 17 horse as my third pick, Samburo. This is, as you mentioned, a youngster that does have a good track record as well. One that is run 4 times as well, won 3 of them. The first 3, much like the 10 horse, and then kind of had a little bit of a lesser performance last time out, but did run a good third. I think only 3. I mean, ran 6th, but
that was a big step up. That was a big step up for this horse, based on where it had been. So I think they got a little too ambitious.
And hopefully today they're right on target. And I'm going to go with number 20. It's my long shot here in this pick, Lord Rapscallion. I mentioned at the beginning of this, when we're talking about what the pace might set up for this particular spot, I mentioned I thought one horse might have a chance to scurry out to a lead by itself and maybe steal that race. That would be, in my opinion, Lord Rapscallion. And if you look at last race out, he did run at Newmarket. He did run 7 furlongs, and he did finish second by a neck. He's run at the track 4 times, collected a couple of seconds and a third. So we're not asking Lord Rapscallion to win. We're just asking him to fatten up the exactas and trifectas. That's the hope there. Next race on the last race for us in England this weekend is going to be race number 6. It is the Newmarket July Cup Stakes. This one is a little bit moved backwards in distance. It is just 6 furlongs. So 6 furlongs is going to start here. Still straight, still up undulation, still up a hill, down a hill, still to the round circular sign. This one, Tom, has, I think, 14 horses. And again, I see a little bit more of an equilibrium here. A couple of horses that when they get to the front, probably about 10 that want to be in the middle. And then a couple of horses, maybe 3 that are going to trail and try to close at the end. Do you see any different picture in terms of pace?
That's kind of what I saw in this race. Again, we have some long shots who've won group races, and this is to say it's competitive would be an understatement.
And this one's going to kick off at 11:25 a.m. Eastern, so you might want to set your clocks to that. so that you know when the July Cup is going to go. And let's go ahead and take a look at your picks for the July Cup, Tom.
Absolutely. I started out with number 12, King Hermes, with draw 6. He's got 5 starts, 2 wins, and a third. His last out was at Tokyo in a Group 1, and he lost by 3 lengths to one of the top horses in Japan right now, the 3-year-old. And that race he finished 6th. That was a mile race. Prior to that, it was a better effort in a Group 2 race. He finished 3rd by a length, and he lost to the same horse again, also at a mile. He's a winner of a Group 2 race. That was at 7 furlongs. His only start at 6 furlongs was a maiden race, which he won fairly easily. And frankly, the good to firm is exactly what this horse is looking for. And this is a Japanese horse. The thing with Japanese horses to remember is anytime they're running and in the world pools, the Japanese will bet very heavy on these horses. So if this horse should not finish in the money, there could be some nice payoffs.
And speaking of Japan, we hope that there's peace over there after the assassination of Abe, which is kind of nutty that we're in that world still. But all right, go ahead. Sorry, Tom.
No, it's all right. The number 3, Creative Force, with draw 9 is my next choice. 12 starts, 6 wins, 2 seconds. He was an unlucky second last time out against Naval Crown. Naval Crown was on one side of the course, and he was on the other side, and the other side was not where he just just missed it. I tossed his Dubai race. It was just not his day. He's got 2 starts, and frankly, I think he's had 2 really good races. And he is a Group 1 winner, and I would not be surprised if he won again. I did take number 13, Perfect Power, with draw 8 as my final choice. 9 starts, 6 wins, and a third. His first start of the year was a winner at 7 furlongs in a Group 3. Then they tried the Guineas for a mile, and frankly, he is a sprinter, not a miler. And so I tossed that race. He's back to 6. Because he's a 3-year-old, he gets weight off. And my comment was, is that fair? Because he's going to be an overwhelming favorite, in my opinion, and he is deadly at this distance. I'm going to try to beat him. But he is a goodie.
I'm going to try to beat him as well, Thomas. Creative Force. You mentioned that horse had a loss to my Naval Crown last time out. Naval Crown was $80. We paid $80. I'll take the $80. But this time around, Naval Crown's in this race too. But I'm tossing Naval Crown, and I'm going to give the advantage to Creative Force here. This horse is also making its second start off a layoff. Last time it had a second start off a layoff, it came back to win. That was at Newmarket, and winning at Newmarket is nothing new for Creative Force. He's run at that track 4 times and collected the winner's check in 3 of them, 10 times at the distance. Again, collecting the big check 5 of 10 times. I agree with you. Perfect Power is going to be the one to beat, Tom. So I have that as my second choice in here. Big fan of the distance, 4 times out at the distance, as you mentioned. Won 3 of them on turf 8 times, winning 6 of them. It's going to be the horse to beat. And only 2 tips, interestingly. You would think with as many horses that are in this field, considering it's maybe a pace advantage, it would be the one that you want to kind of look at. I'm going to go with a little bit of a price here for my next one, number 11 at 11-1. That is Flaming Rib. Horse has run 7 times at the distance, Tom. So if you like a horse that likes the distance, this one has been in the money 100% of the time. 3 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. And if you look, too, at its record and its performance on a good track, I think most of the times he's hit a good track, he's had a good finish. You see, we got a first, a second, and a second. So I think I'll take that.
And I should point out this horse has been supplemented into the race. It wasn't originally nominated, so they had to pony up some big bucks to put it in this race.
So they must be. They must feel like it's a good
spot. There must be some confidence in this horse.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I did not know that. And then my last pick of the day here at Going to be my long shot as well. Number 2, I think you had this guy in one of your races recently, Tom. Black Rod, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Yes, indeed. But this is a guy who's run twice at Newmarket, won both of those races. And what's interesting to me, I was looking through, like, trying to compare horses, how they run at different tracks and stuff like that. And this was one of my, let's see, I had, I don't know, like 7 or 8 horses that I was looking at in here. And when I was looking at their like average winnings, those 2 races that he won at Newmarket totaled $118,000. So those aren't small races in England when you're winning $50,000 a crack. So I think you got a good shot at Black Rod to show up. Right now, it looks like he's 66-1. If he comes in second or third time, that should make the exactors or trifectas pay out nicely.
Oh, and don't forget, get the Omni Swingers.
Yes, that's what. Explain that again for folks who might not know what an Omni Swinger is.
Basically, if you play 2 horses, and if they finish first and second, you get paid. If they finish first and third, you get paid. So it's or finish second and third. So you've got a little extra incentive. Payoffs with big horses are worth playing. I tend to stay away from them with short price stuff because they don't pay much. So if I got like that 66-1 shot, I may throw it with a few of the favorites or shorter price horses and hope for something decent.
Hope it comes on top, right? Like the backdoor exactly. Yeah. That's always one of my favorite betting angles. Last night, Chris Parmalu had to fill in for me on the Players Edge podcast. We had on track announcer John Dooley from Horseshoe, Indianapolis. I think they have like 8 stakes races tomorrow on Saturday. So if you're watching this on Saturday, you can check out their thoughts for the Indiana Derby, the Indiana Oaks, and the Jonathan B. Schuster Memorial. Thomas, I haven't had a chance to see the show yet, but tell us about it.
Well, we have the Oaks race. There's an overwhelming favorite, the 5 horse. I don't have the name up right here, but it's definitely the one to beat. The other races are a little more interesting. I put Rattle and Roll in, but I really think he's going to bounce and not be in the money at all. He ran his top number last time out, and when he's done that before, he's not done anything in the next race. So I took a bit of a shot there, and then in the turf race, which has Ivor as going to be the 2-1 favorite with the outside post, and obviously way above. This is way above what he does. He's running in Group 1s, and now he's Grade 1s, I should say, and then he dropping into this handicap, so to speak. But I took the local horse, Charging of the Light or something? I have to look it up again. It's has 12 starts at Indiana and won 7 times, and is a turf specialist. And obviously, he's a local. Of course, he's bred there, but he's also a local. And it would not surprise me to see this horse hit the board. And the morning line on it is 30-1.
Thomas being Thomas again. Gotta love that.
So I think it'll be definitely an interesting card. I've gone through most of the card. I've still got a couple races left, and there's some opportunities there.
Yes, indeed. So you can catch Sean's picks, the rest of Tom's picks, and Terry's picks, and we'll recap that over on Horse Racing tomorrow. You'll catch everybody's picks over there in the recap, but go over and watch the show at Horse Racing Radar TV if you're interested in doing Horseshoe Indianapolis for their big day tomorrow. While you're on YouTube, do us a great big favor. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the bell so that when we go live, you'll be notified. We do a whole lot of shows around here. You can also follow us on our social sites. The handle is the same no matter where you go, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It is Horse Race 2 and then Day, Horse Race Today. Our Swiss Army Sean will make sure you're up to speed with what's going on in the culture of horse racing, the personalities, when the shows are coming up, what we're going to talk about. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, making sure we bring those to light as well. All right, Tom, now we're going to come back stateside. We're going to go to Belmont Park. And this is what the Belmont Park track looks like, Tom. This one's not so unusual for us.
No, there's no dog leg right for
Any
for the
decrees from
longer
Kings that it will
races,
always
or a
be a?
straightaway with undulations.
Mhm. Are there any decrees from Kings where it will always be a racetrack and not
You never
condominiums
know.
like so many
But
racetracks
but
have turned into?
but we should point out though, those when they come out of those chutes,
Hmm.
there is some strategy of how you got to ride the horse to get into the position. So Jose Ortiz gave us a little insight that a while back,
Hmm.
and maybe it does have its little quirks, like some of these other some of the courses over in Europe.
So you had mentioned that you wanted to do these races because there was a lot of international flavor, Tom. So let's talk about the first one up on the roster here, and that is the Belmont Oaks Invitational. It is race 7 at Belmont Park this Saturday. I don't know what time it's going to kick off in here, but let me look and see. That race will be at 4:06 p.m. Eastern, so you make sure you keep an eye out for that. All right, Tom,
Especially
you wanted to do it.
especially for that 6, right?
That's 6. That one, I don't. That's why I did a double take. I'm like 406. What the hell? All right. Anyway, so you wanted to do this for the international flavor. Well, by golly, you better have some international picks. What do you like?
I certainly do. I took number 10, Concert Hall is my top choice. An Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore combination. Ran 4th last time out and against older horses at the Curragh, and was beaten by a horse by the name of La Petite Coco. And
Who we both had?
we both had. And did you see the odds in Europe?
No.
She drifted up to 9-1.
Oh, yeah. Well, we did get a
I
good price
couldn't
on her.
believe
Not
we got
here, but
9-2 here. We got 9-2
Yeah.
here.
It just shows to show you
So,
Americans are better handicappers.
well, I'd
I'm
rather
sure
the
right
number one.
now the folks who are watching us in England are throwing stuff at the computer. We kid. We know you're better at it. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. But my point with that is that she faced some very good horses in the Pretty Polly. And just as a side note, La Petite Coco is owned by Team Valor, and if everything goes right, she will definitely be running in the Breeders' Cup race. So you may want to. She's going to probably have 2 more races before, and if she stays in form like she is, this was her first Group 1 win, but she's definitely going to be a contender in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, going back to Concert Hall, which is the horse we're concentrating on, she ran 4th to Tuesday in the Epsom Oaks, and it was actually a little bit eventful, but not an interesting race. And again, there were some top 3-year-olds running in that race. Tuesday went on to try the Irish Derby and did not do anything. And then she ran 3rd to what is considered to be the top 3-year-old in Ireland right now, which is Homeless Song in the Guineas. So she equated herself very nicely in that race. Her first start of the year was an enlisted at Navan. It was at 1.25 miles, and she did very well in that race. Last 3 races have all been Group 1s. So she's not there. Aidan O'Brien's not dodging anybody with this horse. And I really think this is a nice spot for her. To get a nice win here, and I do like the riding style of Ryan Moore. I think if he's got the horse under him, he knows how to get it through traffic to get a chance to win.
We saw that in this race last year with Ryan O'Moore and Aidan O'Brien.
So number 9, Agatha, is my. Oh, actually, that wasn't the Oaks. That was the Colt version. Mm-hmm. And the Oaks, the 2 Godolphin horses were the top 2. But I took number 9, Agatha, as my next choice. The last win was as a 2-year-old in a Group 2 at the Curragh. Since then, she's ran 2nd 3 times in Group 1 and Group 3 races. And then a 4th and 5th in others. But again, she's facing horses like Concert Hall is facing. Very good horses. I don't know if she's going to win, but she's darn good. And the thing to point out with her is, of course, she's going to be stabled at Saratoga. So they're going to be looking at that race that we will be there for. The same day, 5-star day weekend, there is these international races, the $1 million races will be run, and the Saratoga version of them. And I can't leave Chad Brown out of this race with number 5, consumer spending. She's run some nice races. Her first start of the year, she beat Pizza Bianco without too much trouble, in my opinion. And she won again the next time out. She hasn't won a grade 1 yet, but I think she's got a great chance right here. And she's impressed me in both her races. I think she's the best of the Chad Brown's horses here. And that is my picks.
She definitely has a bunch of late pop. There is no question about that. When you look at those late pace numbers, they're through the roof. I'm going to go one horse to the outside of consumer spending for my first pick, and that's New Year's Eve with Luis Saez and Brendan Walsh. It's another horse that has a lot of late juice, but it'll be, I think, it'll be a little bit more forwardly placed. Not a whole lot than consumer spending, but I do think it has a shot. Maybe not more forwardly placed, but I just look at this horse's runs every single time. 4 races. It's been no worse. It's won 3 of them. One of them was a third by just 1 length and made up a lot of ground late. I think when you see this horse at 1.25 miles, it's going to be the right distance, and the horse is going to do pretty well. In fact, the one race that it didn't really win was at 1 mile against Quality Company. So I think it actually needs longer distances New Year's Eve. I'm going to go with the Chad Brown horse next, consumer spending, as my second choice. Again, this is another horse, as I mentioned right off the jump there when you talked about it, Tom, that had some incredible late pop with its late pace figures. Last 2 times out, over triple digits. So this one's going to be coming home with a mad rush. It'll look like it's going at a different speed than everybody else. My only concern with that is I'm not the biggest Manny Franco fan on horses that like to come from off the pace, though he has ridden consumer spending 2 times, actually 3 times, and won them all for Chad Brown. In fact, he does really good with Chad Brown. They hit it about 36%. It might be his top combination, surprisingly, for Chad Brown. I'm going to go with Concert Hall as my third choice in there, Tom. I do think, as you mentioned, this is the best of the foreign horses that are in this particular spot. My only concern was with Concert Hall is when you look back on its good track record there, it hasn't run as well on the good surfaces as it has on the off surfaces. Not 100% sure what the weather is going to be like in New York tomorrow, but I know in Chicago it's okay today. That weather usually gets there a day late, so if it's about the same as it is here, I would expect a firm course. And then my last one is going to be number 4 with the Moonlight. This is one that I think has a pretty good chance. And you know what's interesting, when I looked at this number 4, Charles Appleby, do you know what percentage he wins graded stakes at?
Very high.
So he's run 19 of them, graded stakes races. Yeah, and he's won 47% of them. So if you do the math, that's 9 out of 14. Not coming in second, not coming and winning. That's a hell. So I would say that Mr. Appleby is darn good at placing his horses and making sure they're in a good spot.
Well, and it helps to have horses like Yabir in modern games, and that kind of helps too.
Well, that does help a lot for sure. The last race of the day that we're going to do is the Belmont. This one is the Belmont Derby Invitational. It's a bigger field. This one, I think, has, about 13 horses, so a much bigger field. Really I don't think there's a prohibitive favorite in here. It looks like the number 13, Stone Age, at 9-2 is the morning line favorite. So this looks to me like one, Tom, if you can put the right order together, you're going to get a nice exacta, trifecta, maybe superfecta payout if you can find the 4. Who are you going to start with?
Number 10, Nation's Pride is my top choice. I tossed the last. It just ran an even race at Epsom, and from all indication, it didn't like the Epsom course, and that is not uncommon. That is a tricky up and down type of course to run on. And this horse may prefer a little more of the flat type races. And the reason I say that is because he won 4 in a row prior to that. Lingfield on the all-weather, Chelmsford on the all-weather. He won in Dubai. And then in a short field at Newmarket, he won by 7 lengths. In that race at Newmarket, he beat the runner-up of the Epsom Derby. The turns, and Frankie Dettori should not have any problem handling that. And we should also note that this is sort of kind of the surprise 3-year-old of the Charlie Appleby Godolphin ones. He's got some other ones that are darn good, and they've been winning big races. And this one kind of snuck up on him, I think, because I think they expected a pretty average horse, and they ended up with a pretty good horse. And I think this is a nice spot for it to win again.
It's kind of like sticking your hand in your pocket and finding a $20 bill after you pull it out of the wash, right?
Exactly. I would like to get
that.
If I ever go back to owning horses, I'd like to get that lucky.
Put your hand in a pocket and pull out a
kind of horse would
one
be paying
winner.
the bills. Yeah, it would definitely be paying the bills. I took number 8, Royal Patronage, as my next choice. I was beaten by 37 lengths in the Epsom Derby, and I think you can honestly say the distance and the track probably contributed to a really bad race. Because prior to that, he ran second to the Derby winner. And in a nice good race. I mean, he's won Group 2 and 3 races, and mainly at shorter at distance of 7 furlongs and a mile. Along with that, I mean, he's up with the best of the 3-year-olds in Europe. And interestingly enough, he will be staying in the States. Graham Motion will take over the training of him after this race. So it'll be interesting to see going forward too with this horse. And finally, I took a horse that I think is a turf horse and not a dirt horse, which is number 9, Tis the Bomb. I've tossed all its dirt races out. Yeah, it's the best way to describe it. In my opinion, it had no business in the Kentucky Derby. I think that was really wishful thinking. And they've got enough big turf races to run. And if they really want to get aggressive, send them over to Europe. There's certainly a few races there that are nice for turf horses, and this one is definitely a turf horse. He was second in the Breeders' Cup to Modern Games on a length and a half. Modern Games is no slouch, and frankly, neither is Tis the Bomb. I think his best distances are going to be over a mile. The one fascinating thing I think about this horse, this race, is that Dylan Davis is going to ride, and that's quite a coup for him. They must think of enough of him to put him on that horse, because there's certainly other options. And so if he won this, I would not be surprised. I think he's good enough to compete with these top European horses. I just don't understand why they get a little Derby happy sometimes with some of these horses.
I think a lot of times the Derby, just to be there, is just isn't, when you break it down, I think a lot of trainers know their chances are pretty slim, but it's got to be just one of the best places to be for horse racing. And you're one of the 20. It's part of the atmosphere, the fun, and if you get lucky, right? Think about Rich Strike. If you get lucky, you could be that guy. And anyway, Nation's Pride is my top choice too, Tom. So I don't know what that means for that poor horse, but you and I both are on it. And the one thing I don't know what happened in that last race, so I'm gonna toss it out, the one at Epsom. But prior to that, the previous 2 races that the horse had on a good surface at 1.25 miles, the 2 times it's been out at 1.25 miles, won and made really easy work of the field. Won by 7 lengths, won by 3.25 lengths. So like you mentioned, Tom, I think it is going to like the distance. I think it's going to like the footing. And the last 2 times Nation's Pride had both of those. The other horses were competing for second. My next choice is Napoleonic War. You got to have a Chad Brown horse here, Tom, in New York, because he's going to come equipped to go.
I don't think he's got good colts this year, and especially in the 3-year-old ranks. I think he's got great fillies like consumer spending.
Mhm.
But I think on the colt side, he's not as strong as he's been in the past.
Could be. I do like this
Or
guy though,
they're going to be
Tom.
horses that need to mature. They may be better 4-year-olds than 3-year-olds.
Mhm. I give Napoleonic War a shot in here, Tom, at 10-1. Again, looking at the horse's late pace numbers, it's been really close, and I think by going 1.25 miles, because the horse is coming on at the end of every race, closed ground in all 4 races that the horse has been in, and this time it's going to go the longest it's ever gone at 1.25 miles. The farthest it's been off the winner is 1.25 lengths. That was at 1.16 miles. Last time out at 1.125 miles was only a length off. So I think adding that 1/8 of a mile is going to be a huge difference for Napoleonic War. And you know what? And I love about Flavien Prat is I feel like he's always got his horse in the right position to win if the horse is good enough to win. And I think Napoleonic War is good enough to win this race at 10-1 for Chad Brown. I'm going to go with number 13 as my next choice, that Stone Age. Tom, I was kind of interested that you didn't have Stone Age in your picks. Any particular reason why?
I just think it has not been running. It ran some good races in Ireland, but hasn't done much after that. And the Derby was like some of these other horses, not a great race. I mean, he may bounce back and go much better today, or I should say tomorrow. But I just couldn't put him in. I just didn't. I thought there were other horses that were better than he was, and are better form at this point. Royal Patronage is definitely a shot in the dark. But if you throw out that Derby run of his, I mean, he was just close second to the Derby winner. So he's obviously he could handle the distance. It's just a matter of getting the trip.
Well, the one note in here, it did mention that he was sweating before the last race at the Epsom Derby. So keep an eye on that. If there's a note from Maggie Wolfendale that the horse is not, the horse looks good, not sweating, not overreacting. See, when you look back at the prior 2 races, they're both at 1.25 miles. They're both on a good surface, and they were both not close. One by 5.25 lengths, in the race before that, 1 by 9. So we can return to that form. I think Stone Age can make easy work of this field. So keep an ear out for what Maggie has to say about the horses in the paddock. And then my last one, I agree with you, Tom. Tiz the Bomb is not a dirt horse. Tiz the Bomb is a turf horse, and it will show that on Saturday with the strong run as well. All right, Tom, that wraps up our picks for Newmarket and Belmont with a heavy international flavor here in New York. Any final thoughts before we check out for the weekend?
Well, I mean, we should point out we did the Belmont races partially because Breeders' Cup, but partially because, I mean, we've got horses from France, Ireland, and England coming over to race in those races, and they're big bucks. And these are really some of the top people and trainers and jockeys that are coming over to ride these horses. So you've got to perk your ears up when you see that, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. And remember last year we covered this in the Players Edge podcast. We did the Belmont on that weekend, and we all got beat up by the 4 horses. So that was a lot of fun. So this year, that's not going to happen.
Not me.
Well, it doesn't happen to me too much anymore either.
I had the Oaks picked dead on, and I had the Bolshoi Ballet as the top pick on my.
Well, let's hope we're dead on again this week, both at Newmarket and at Belmont Park. In addition to us covering Belmont Park, yes, indeed, the bankroll would be nice. Eddie C. and Chris P. will be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. Their focus will also be on Belmont Park, so make sure you come in and check that out. Again, while you're here, to make sure you don't miss Eddie C. and Chris P. I don't know why I always screw up their initials, but Chris has got some new graph. Yeah, that P, and they rhyme, right? So they have Chris has got some new charts that he's going to unveil tomorrow. You're going to want to make sure you see those. He's putting a lot of time and effort and thought and research into it, so it's well worth your time just to catch his bubble charts. But also their picks have worked out very well, and it seems like the show is gaining some traction and growing rapidly. So tomorrow, 9 a.m., Terry and I will be back on Monday at 11 o'clock Central, 12 o'clock Eastern, to go over Parks and our full card picks. And then we'll rotate back into that same schedule. We might have some very big guests next week, some names you might see at Belmont on Saturday and Sunday. They're not finalized yet, but they might be on our Horse Center shows next week. You want to make sure you keep up with our social sites to make sure you know if indeed we're able to finalize those. All right, Tom, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. All your picks work out again at the Invitational in the Oaks. Certainly hope no matter where you're betting, Horseshoe Indianapolis, you're betting at Newmarket, you're betting at Belmont, wherever it is you're taking your game to this weekend. We hope that it ends up in the
winner circle.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend.